Sarah Cross, first witch that I ever met. She came into my tattoo studio. She just said, "What's going on with you? What's happening?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, who is this person?" She's like, "I can feel you're off. Energy's off." And I'm like, "I'm in a bad relationship. I'm married, just going through a rough time, and he was abusive." And she's like, "We got to leave him." Called a magical hexagram. And I actually, it's the first time I've ever talked about it in years. I thought I did something wrong. I thought I did the spell wrong. I thought it backfired on me.
Hi, everyone. This is the Wisdom Keeper interview series that I'm doing. And today I have Cara from Pagan Crafting, and we're going to have a chat about her story and how her path is unwinded. What's the word? Come to be.
I like unwinded, did it?
Unwinded. The first question I'm going to start with is, when did you begin your path? Where'd you start?
I was in public school and having a rough time, and do not have any Catholic or Christian background, and I was failing in some subjects. And there was only one other school. It was two schools in the small town I was in, and it was a Catholic school. I begged to get in so I can have an education, but we had to take religious studies. And they were bringing up in their first year, they taught a bunch of religions in their school, which was blew me out of the water. And then that was grade 10. And then grade 11, 12, we had to learn just Catholic. And I learned about Buddhism and paganism. And I'm like, what's this? And I started reading about it. There was no internet. So I started reading about what I could get, and I could only find on Buddhism, some ancient Celt paganism. And it just resonated. It just made sense. It's just one of those moments you realize you are when you hear people like, "Oh, I'm into Wicca," or "I'm into paganism." Well, no, you discover you are like a witch. You just like, it just makes sense. So I started kind of looking into things myself. I couldn't find it. Was this very small town in the northern region past the 40th parallel. It's freaking cold up there, isolated. So I wasn't able to learn more until I moved to Australia when I was 19. And then I was just more free, and I was out of that small town. I lived in Australia for a year, and it was just the guy I was with at the time was very nature oriented, and we just followed. He was Caucasian, not Aboriginal, but he knew a lot of Aboriginal ways from Tasmania. So he taught me, and it was just opening up my eyes for different cultures. And then again, I went quiet for a bit. Nothing too much happened until I joined the military. My last posting was back in above Seattle. And it wasn't until I was at that island, about 21 years old, my life changed. There were so many, I didn't even realize then, like I had a friend of mine, my best friend who was a shaman, and her husband was a Buddhist monk, a Tibetan monk. Like the opportunities I had back then, right? But I was like, oh, they're just my friends, and that's what they do. They're a monk. That's just his way. And then they started teaching me, and they invited me to sweats, and it was mainly Aboriginal from Haida and First Nations on the island. So my first sweat was 5 hours, and I had to cleanse and get rid of past stuff, and I was going through divorce. And it was a path, a journey of shamanism that really pulled me in. I've had been a priestess in many past lives, so the shamanism side is I'm ready for that side now. So I started learning, and then it was only books. I found a book called Witchcraft for Tomorrow. And that was my first book I found at an internet cafe. And I thought the lady was going to poo poo me or give me shit or give me a dirty look that I bought this book. And like I scrolled it away home. It was by Doreen.
Valiant.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was all about how you can initiate yourself and do this and that. Because when I found Wicca books, they all had to you have to be initiated, you have to be in a coven, you have to have people. And I'm like, I was always in small towns or isolated or in the military at that age. So everything was on my own and learning. I tried spells from books. They didn't work. I tried candle magic, didn't work because I didn't know the why. So when I kind of threw the books out the door in my early 20s, and I just went into nature and I just started bringing that all in. So everything was about the island. The island has so many occultists and so many practitioners. I was just waiting to find them, and it was a really cool opportunity being there. So it was my early 20s, I'd say mainly 21, starting there. And then everything has just blossomed from there.
So you started with shamanism?
Hmm. Didn't
Yeah.
realize, but it just made more sense to me. I was doing past life regressions at that time. Found I was an Egyptian priestess, Greek priestess, but mainly Egypt. And so I felt like I've already done that journey. And then just what I was around and the people I was around were more, they were Caucasian or he was a Tibetan monk. Have you ever seen 7 Years in Tibet?
No, I never saw that movie. Mm-mm.
Oh, there was one part where there was a bunch of monks given skates and they skated for the first time. And he was actually in that movie and he was the first monk to skate out on the ice.
Oh, they were real monks that they used.
Yeah, they used real monks. They gave them skates. All of it was when they were going like that was their first time ever on skates.
Cute. That's sweet.
Yeah. So it was just shot and raw. And he was a gentle soul and taught me lots too. So it was really, 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 really cool.
Mm.
Really, really neat thing to be around, definitely on the island. Lots of occultists and lots of satanic occults on the island too.
Huh.
There's lots of vortexes that draw people in, and sometimes it draws in the wrong crowd. They think it's for something else
Mm.
when it's good energy, but it draws in all kinds of people. So most occults in Canada are on Vancouver Island.
Hmm. Interesting. I didn't know that.
It's weird. Most artisans in all of Canada live also on Vancouver Island.
Hmm.
So it's a very possibly a very creative. So it's where you take that energy.
I mean, I definitely see threads of the shamanism still in your practice, at least what you portray on YouTube.
Mhm.
But you consider yourself mostly an art witch now, no? Or
Yeah, I guess more like I guess the channel would consider me an art witch. I'd think I realize I have been doing it for so long. Like even when I do my art spells, I just use my hands and paint and whatever colors come out and shapes come out, and then I start drawing with it, use all my colors. I realized it was a spell all along when I was trying to manifest what I wanted. So now I'm just like, oh, okay, let's take that concept, art witch, and let's have some fun with it. So I think I'm more
Mm.
forest shaman. I've never been initiated as a shaman, but I've been just studying everything I can. First, it kind of started back on the island, and then now I'm out in Alberta, above Montana there, and there's shamans, but there's I hate this word, Western bastardization of it. Like they just like I'm a shaman, I'm a shaman. Well,
Mm.
no, you have to train with someone. You have to be so. I was in my third year with training with a Norse shaman, it was online, but we still had to meet every Thursday. And then we had to meet once a month on Sundays and we did our journeys together. So while I was in my classes, I was still meeting them like online
Mm.
with the other people. So it still had the interaction, but I still feel I need more. We
Mm-hmm.
did a lot of journeys. I became addicted to journeying for a while. Ooh,
Mm.
it's fun. It was like a drug for a while. It was cool. You just go into another world.
Yeah. I think that's probably also easier for creative people because you're working with visions anyway, really, if you're
Mhm.
creating things. In some way you are anyway.
Yeah,
So would you say that back in your 20s when you were sort of initially opened up to shamanism, were you an art witch back then, or has that sort of evolved?
I
And
think that's more evolved. Yeah, because before I used to do, I love going to the forest and making mandalas on the ground if I can find little flowers, but usually be sticks and pine cones, and I make designs and leave offerings around certain trees in the
Mm.
front. So I was always doing something for the forest. It was like natural art to leave behind. It's like graffiti. It's like you throw up your piece, but you never get to take it home. All the
Mhm.
graffiti artists, they're giving away free art. People don't realize they're spending money on their cans and throwing up the art. So I'd kind of use that concept in the forest, giving the don't take it with you.
Mhm.
And now I'm a forager, so I'm like I squirrel things and then I bring things back. But no, art which I was just painting back then. I was a gallery artist, I was a fine art artist and tattoo artist since I was 21. So from 1996 to 2018, I tattooed full time and I became a master artist. And now I just came out of retirement to tattoo a friend of mine who I'm here with today. It's her 20-year sobriety.
Mhm.
So I've tattooed cougar paw prints for each of her year. So we're going to tattoo. I have 7 more to do and then her 20th.
Wow.
So I came out of retirement to honor her. I was so excited. So we're gonna be doing that this weekend too.
You made some divination ink a few months ago. Maybe it was sometime.
Mm, yeah,
Um, so do you still have your stash? And you made that from tattoo ink. Do you still have that stash? And is that what you're using on her?
I do. Yeah, and for the divination ink, I with that tattoo ink, it says it's expired, but it still really gets a drawing ink. It is so good. It's a Japanese drawing ink, and it is so beautiful to paint with to
Hmm.
make because it's for calligraphy, but it
Oh,
goes in the skin so gorgeous. And so I use an old Japanese style ink, and it very, very it's like $80 for a little bottle.
wow.
But my tattoos stay forever. You don't mind spending more, but the tattoos are gonna look better longer too.
Interesting. So I didn't know that the ink that you're using on to make art, you could use on the skin too.
Yeah, some of it. Yeah, some of the when I first started tattooing in 1996, we used a drawing ink. And
Oh.
then that was before ink was created. So some of the ink, that's why the ink didn't hold. Some certain colors didn't hold in the skin. It wasn't until artists started getting into tattooing and started playing with pigments and learning and adding. And we
Hmm.
got metals in our body too. Some of the inks have metal in it.
Hmm.
So the cover colors are vibrant. So when I'm under the hot sun or MRI, I heat up, I boil up.
Whoa.
I can, yeah, my left sleeve is all full color, and that one I have to keep. I put sunblock on. I usually I got to keep it covered in the summer now. It's relatively a new tattoo, and I get too hot.
Weird. Interesting. I
Yeah,
had no
all
idea.
the all the metals. Yeah, I actually when I was here in August for the Wee Moons gathering, I collected a bunch of coal from the fire too, and I made my black salt out of that, and I'm gonna make this year's batch too out of some new divination ink because I put the gum arabic in it and it's so thick now my batch from last year, so I got to redo it.
Okay.
So now it's got some new like that was from the wee moon, the super full moon at the end of August last year.
I remember you talking about that. Yeah. That's cool.
Ah, that was a powerful gal. That was our first one. We're like, fuck, we just jumped in, 32 people. We didn't expect that turnout. Oops, excuse my language.
Have you ever had the desire, this is just a whim question, to do spell work via tattoos?
I have. I
Yeah.
own three of them on my body.
Oh, okay. So you did.
And one of them, I wouldn't say it backfired, but I wasn't specific enough, like the dogs earlier behind us. Before we started our show, we had my friend's dogs playing behind us. And then I asked them in my head to move out of the way and stop playing, and they did, but they went on to something else. So you gotta be precise in spells I learned at a young age. So I have one right here
Hmm.
and I have one on my back. My first spell tattoo I ever did was for myself, and it was protection on my back. It's called a magical hexagram, and it's the first time I've ever talked about it in years because it's now taken on the shape of the star is a new religion that's come out, and I don't want to be affiliated with it because
Oh,
I don't know enough about it. Not be, but it's a magical hexagram, but I think it has like a points this way, and I colored all the points to match up all the elements. I actually had a shaman's like, why'd you put that on your back? I'm like, well, it's an old star that they used to draw on the ground. It's for more protection than the pentacle. Why need protection on your back? I'm like, huh. And it worked. My ex finally stopped stalking me and kept away from me. And after I got the tattoo, everything just quieted down and he went on his own way. And I wish that he would be with someone and he got a new girlfriend. And my next tattoo, I wasn't specific enough, but that one I invoked the goddess. And it's this one here is a blue lotus flower that is actually covered, but it comes around my chest here and it's royal blue for the blue of the Nile River because the Nile River is life giving, and I wanted to have a baby so bad, and I was told I had maybe a 16% chance, 15% chance.
oh,
I had fibroid tumors, endometriosis, ovarians, cysts, everything, and I was told never to have. So I used that to invoke, and I actually met the guy who fathered my child. The bandage was still on my chest. So I gave him a light drawing of what I wanted, then he freehanded on, and then I was very specific in the colors and how it had to go and which style. Oh, I caught a wish. Sorry, distraction. Make a wish, Aurora.
Okay.
Okay, we did. And but that one came true, but I forgot to ask for the guy to stay with me.
Wow.
So you have to be. So I got my baby.
Mm.
I got my wish, and and I said, even if I have to be alone, I still want to have a baby. So careful what you wish for too. But that one was very, very powerful. That one came true right away. Yeah. And then my other, I think I just have the two magical ones. I have an horus of protection on me, but that's just more, I don't consider that one magical. I consider it just a symbol protection, put it on me.
Mm.
But the one on my back, the star, and the one here, that one I drew. It took me 14 times to color this one. And I was very grumpy with the artist, said like this has to, don't change it at all. Like, because I had colored four colors together and each of them would meet at a certain point and it would be the colors of the elements at each point. So I had a transition of all the colors to
Mm.
one to flow into together. So I'm like, you can't change it. Don't even change the color. I had
Mm.
picked out certain colors that I doused and I was told to have in it.
Mm.
And it's always worked. So I like it. It stays, I forget about it. It's like a set it and forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
always
it's always being fed, I suppose, just through your skin, your energy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But this one was probably my most powerful one. And this one, it was an oops one. And then I've met other witches on the island. I was tattooing mainly when I was on the island. So I did do some rune symbols on a friend of mine.
Mm.
And we did Fehu for abundance. And her business blossomed. We sat there and we cleansed the area first. We gave hugs. We gave energy. She was a Reiki master before I was, so she was raking my inks in my area, my office, and then I tattooed the runes on her, and it was amazing. I got to tattoo a shaman, so that was really cool. I did sweetgrass around her like a band with the medicine wheel, and I was coloring it late at night, and I like to color in the dark. I like just with candlelight, and I didn't realize I grabbed purple, not brown. Or it was no, it was supposed to be leather, not sweetgrass. And she's like, I love the purple. Let's leave it. It was meant to be. And then she told me it was a healing tattoo for her. So I would consider that a magical tattoo too.
Mm.
The honor of doing that one for her, but it wasn't a ceremonial. It's doing the runes on my friend's hand.
Mm-hmm.
But
Interesting.
I got to do few magical ones. I
Mm-hmm.
think some more people get symbolism on them, but when we took our time, that was different and that was really fun. Thanks for bringing that memory up. Totally forgot about all that.
Yeah.
Forgot about the tattoo on my back too, till I remembered.
Are there any other threads of witchcraft that you've sort of dabbled in or that you hope to explore in the future?
I like to look at something new every year. I still follow the craft I'm in and what my more natural ways, my natural craft.
Mm.
But this year I just joined Edmonton's traditional witchcraft guild.
Mm.
I'd say about 80% of it kind of resonated with me, and 20% I was just unsure of, or like I like to follow the Sabbats. Hello, sweetheart. I like to follow the Sabbats in the calendar, and they do not.
Mhm.
We got friends coming out here too. Yeah, what I would use a wand or an athame. They would use a stave or like a big staff to open their circles, and it's more from the American Midwest tradition. It's brought over from Europe.
Oh,
So so I joined the guild. I joined a membership and I joined in February just recently, and I went on my first walk with them recently just to get to know a few of them. They got classes and stuff, so that's gonna be kind of my future. I would love to get initiated as a shaman.
mhm.
But so I've just been putting it out there. I think I'm ready now. So I would like to go on to another level of teaching before I can get initiated.
Mm.
I've looked at Egyptian, Celt, Peruvian. I'm so attracted to the Celt was just like, oh, I'm already that. I already felt the Celt shamanism was I'm already doing that through my witchcraft. But
Mhm.
when I was looking into Norse shamanism, it just was just I couldn't get enough. I'm on my third year. I'm learning from this shaman and
Mm.
it's so cool. he has a lot of homework,
Yeah.
and it's all through journeying. So I got pooped out, so I lost about 6 months. I had to take a break for a while. We got giants to battle, teachers to talk to.
When you journey, are you taking anything to assist
Um,
you? Or
no, I'd say 1% of the time I will. And it's usually if I feel I need to, and that would be psilocybin, but it's a microdose. I
Mhm.
don't do enough to see any sacred geometry. It's more facilitating. Uh, but journeying now, I used to have to do it by a guided meditation. Now I can just hear the drums.
Mm.
But I still takes me a while to get in, where most journeys are 20 minutes, half an hour. I'm a 45 minute to an hour to experience the same.
Mm.
So I could go in just through jumps now. I meet Freya every time. I get my hugs. I get into my boat, go to the underworld, or climb the tree.
Nice.
It's so cool. My teacher always said in the upper world, she always has my peppermint tea waiting for me. It's awesome. I can
Nice.
smell it coming into her bog house. It's
Mm.
so cool. It's little things that are, and then I have my power animal. It's funny because I got goddess Sekhmet tattooed on me. She's a lioness head goddess.
Mhm.
And when I first journeyed, they said, I said, you already have it. You already know your power animal. It's your tattoo. And I'm like, 22 tattoos. Which one? I don't know. I got other animals on me. I got turtles on me. I got a cat on me. And then, I journeyed again and I was talking to another animal and I'm like, I can't find my power animal. Are you my power animal? And they're like, for real? No. So I was just petting the boar and talking to the boar. And then a cat came and lied down next to me. I'm like, oh, okay. Like a lioness cougar. We got cougars in my area. So I tend to use my power animal as a cougar. And I don't like using that because I'm not a cougar. I don't chase after little boys. I don't want
What do you think is what makes you a crone? What is the
Oh,
definition of a crone to you?
I knew you were going to ask this one. It's a toughie. Because at first you want to say someone is in or going through or finished menopause, basically someone that no longer has their moon cycles. But what is a crone compared to like an elder, for example?
Mhm.
Um, and I think it's a difference between an elder and crone could be a difference of wisdom and knowledge. A crone could be certain rites of passage. I'm a baby crone. I just turned 50. Am I a crone now because I'm 50? Or am I a crone because I've been through menopause? I don't no longer have my cycles through surgery. But that was earlier too. So I went into surgically induced menopause. So was I really supposed to have it at all?
Mhm.
There's so many different things. I think Crone has to do more with your wisdom, your knowledge. I think you need to earn it a little bit more. I think an elder is above me.
Mhm.
Elder has even more knowledge and they're keepers and mentors. I think between the two. So I think a little rites of passage. I think each crone is a different experience because it all depends on your experience. Because I know some immature 50-year-olds that I wouldn't consider them a crone yet. They're like, I'm an alpha female, I'm a pack leader, I'm a crone. No, not yet.
Mhm.
I think it's just experience. It's almost like crone is individual to each person, depending on what they've been through. They
Mhm.
kind of hit that.
So what do you feel are some of the experiences that you have had that make you a crone?
Whew.
And
Some
are
shadow work, some dark stuff.
Mhm.
I believe the journeys I've been on, a lot of the journeys I was on, I was trying to figure out the gifts that I had. So I studied a lot. I studied under a healer, a teacher for I think I did 2 years with her. And I think it's the knowledge you take in, but you need the practical as well. An old friend of mine, she just takes online courses and she's so knowledgeable and she's wisdom. And I'm like, but you've never actually healed anybody. You've
Mhm.
never worked with anybody. You have all these certificates, and it means nothing unless you actually can get it. I think a lot of it has to do with your heart too and the love, what you bring into the practice, your experiences were and different awakenings. I've gone through a few awakenings too at different points of my life. I don't think I would have been a crone or a healer if I didn't go through some dark times and try to figure out how to get out of them.
Mm. Are there any stories around powerful ways that you've gotten out of some of your dark times?
Sarah Cross. First witch, official witch that I ever met. She came to my tattoo studio. She just said, "What's going on with you? What's happening?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, who is this person?" I'm like, and she's like, "I can feel you're off. Energy's off, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "I'm in a bad relationship. I'm married." And I just told her, I'm like, and I just going through a rough time and he was abusive. And she's like, "We got to leave him." And right when she said that, the lights flickered and turned off and on. And we're like, "Oh, that was cool." And it wasn't even a storm outside. And we became friends and and she only had a little bit of money. So she only come get tattooed for like 15, 20 minutes. It cost me more money to break up my stuff than to tattoo her. But we just got to know each other that way. And I wound up ending up on her door one night. I left my husband and I just showed up. And she showed me how to get out. We showed me binding. She wound up showing me spell books that I haven't seen before. And I just put a huge binding curse on myself. And I cursed myself. And I bound my wedding ring and my engagement ring together with red thread. It was my first real spell I ever concentrated, did so much energy on. And I said, if I break the thread, this and this and this and this is going to happen to me. So
Mhm.
I put a curse on it. So whenever I was terrified to ever put them back on, or ever to break the
Oh,
thread.
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So she showed me some dark side of the craft too. She had some problems with relationships. So she was like, "I'll show you how to get out of it." So I was just some of the stuff she wanted to do scared me. It was just I'm scared about coming back. I mean, I was learning about Wiccan then, so there was like the laws of three. So I just did more ocean magic and let the tides bring out my energy and my negativity and my anger. But
Mm.
she helped me through a lot of stuff, even though it was some dark magic. And I didn't put anything on him. I put it on myself. So I would never go back to him.
So do you still have your ring and the
No, they were stolen years ago. I didn't want anything to do with them. So I think I got them appraised and then I was gonna sell them. And
hmm
then they got stolen out of my work. So I was like, you know what? I put it out to the universe. I didn't want them in my life. And they left. So I just let it go. Yeah, I don't think I would want to have that energy. I probably would have melted them and buried them or something by now. Put
Yeah.
them in a glass jar so they can't buried in the ground.
What is your view on I suppose, the craft today versus it doesn't sound like you had a hard like intro into I
No,
am a witch. You sort of like have found your way there. And in a way that has been my path too. Is like finding it and realizing, oh, okay, all this stuff that I'm interested in is
it just resonated. It just made sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
So is there a sort of anything that you have noticed from like when you were in your early 20s, sort of first exploring this to the difference the way people approach witchcraft now, or
Oh,
a
yes.
certain kind of vibe, or what people are in, like trends? Um, is
100%. Yeah, I find like I was raised by a scientist, a teacher, so I never had religion in my life at all.
me
And
too.
she allowed me to explore religion. There were some churches in my neighborhood and I would just go in on a Sunday and check it out. And I
Mhm.
was allowed to do that and the church allowed and I just listen and it didn't resonate with me. I started reading their Bible, it didn't resonate. But I find with the witchcraft, like today, like I didn't have internet when I was younger. It was in my 20s that the internet came around. So even then they said you have to look up on at least 3 pages to get factual information and always cross-reference because not everything on the internet is factual. There's always people just uploading their own stuff, not always researching. So I it was hard to come by books. I couldn't order any books online. I couldn't get a hold of anything. It's what I'd find at used bookstores. I'd find witchcraft books and squirrel them away.
Mhm.
And now there's so much access with the internet. It's just like that one girl I know. She's just an online shaman, but
Mhm.
she proclaims she's a shaman
Mhm.
all the time. And I'm like, you're not.
Mhm.
You haven't even practiced. You haven't even held a circle. You don't even drum. Like you don't have a rattle. Like, do you
Mhm.
sing to get rid out the spirits? I don't know what she can do. So I find there's a lot of I don't TikTok, and there's a lot of aesthetics and there's a lot of showy stuff. And I think sometimes the internet has been amazingly helpful because of the research I could find and get a hold of. And but sometimes it can be the opposite. It's like people proclaim themselves to be, and I think you got to get out and do and practice. There's a lot of people that says they're witches or they need to buy, they see everything, they need to buy and buy and buy and buy and buy all these aesthetics and think they need all this stuff. And I'm like, if you're in even if you're in a city, go for a walk in a park.
Mm-hmm.
See what you can find and bring to your altar.
Mm-hmm.
You know, find your wand, find some roots for some root magic. I found everything for free. Money's always been tight, and I've been a single mom for 18 years. So I always find things that are free to do. And I find everything's about aesthetics and having to have all these tools now. And everybody wants knowledge really, 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 really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a while to learn certain practices. And even when you learn, then you got to practice it for a while. You got to actually do. Like
Yeah.
I read and read and read. I tried the spells out of candle spell. None of the candle spells ever worked, but it wasn't until I started now all my spells, I just go to my apothecary and I start pulling, and then I look up the correspondences and the meanings later, and it all works out what I was looking for. Some of the herbs I have memorized, some of them I don't know, and I've collected and pulled. I'm like, oh, I'll find out later what is supposed to be in there. And I
Mm-hmm.
find that works out better than books. Now I have an entire bookshelf full of books and all the stuff I used to learn, and I haven't looked at it in like 15 years. I'll pull reference books out for correspondences now. My daughter wants to learn, so I start pulling out spell books. I'm like, I don't, that's why they never worked. They never resonated with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really important that a spell resonates.
Yeah, it's when it's your own, I think it's a little bit when you're putting it together yourself versus just like I still take things out of a book and then twist it, add your own love to it,
Yeah.
twist on it.
Yeah. I know. I think one of the first, I have some encyclopedia of spells. It's like huge that I got many years ago. And I was looking through it, but I think I didn't resonate with anything in it. Not a stitch. And I still have it, but I never have I've opened it like 3 times or something,
Yeah.
and
I
I
have a
just
couple books like that I was excited about, and then I read it and I'm like, huh. And I'm just like, okay, it's there for when I want some ideas, and they've sat there too. It's like, that's
yeah.
okay. Use them for reference or ideas or find out meanings of something.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite lessons from practicing?
Mm, I think art magic is so chaotic, and it can be freeing and everything you can think of. I think art magic has been probably my funnest experience because it goes in any direction. And if you do it right, you can start it and you never know how it's going to end up.
Mm,
Sometimes I'll pick my palette of colors,
mhm,
whether I'm using paper or paint or an airbrush or clay, and I just have my correspondences to start off with.
mm,
And then I just let it be, and however it turns out, it turns out. And I think that's how it should be. So
mm.
I think I've enjoyed the freedom of art magic.
Are there other ways to approach art magic other than color correspondence?
Oh, yes, anything. Art magic can be, I think I use a lot of colors for myself and everything. Like I wanted to be all calming and relaxing. I put on my blues today, I have my green. Um, Definitely anything with art magic. It can be even just herbs or crystals or anything. I've painted with crystals even. You don't have to paint. Art magic can be just tearing up parchment paper and putting sigils on it and collaging sigils. It can be anything you can think of. That's what I love so much about it. It's
Mm,
every media and all media and no media.
mm. Interesting. I mean, I understand that as a concept, but like it's hard for me to like it's something I'm very curious about, but I don't
I
have
know with your art, you like to have your plan of attack and your stages. My art was always like that with my fine art. I have my plan, I have my vision, and I just need to let the canvas let me bring it out. And now what I've been doing, I've been exploring this more on pagan crafting, is just like, it's so hard for me just to paint a background and just start plopping down colors. It's so like the page changes like 3, 4 times when I'm painting my grimoire pages. But I'm just like, okay, I'm painting flowers. Okay, now it's streaks of stickiness. I'll put saran wrap down and make a mess out of it and pull it up and see what happens. I'm just like, all right, done. Leave it. Don't think about it anymore. I'm trying not to like be controlling with the art. Just let whatever happens.
I get that. I don't feel like I'm at a place where I can do spell work with art, but I definitely see it as sort of like a way to manifest. Like if I have a vision, then it's something I'm practicing putting down on paper, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, I see this thing, how can I make it real? How can I pull it and execute it? And I think that's a good, even just that in and of itself is valid in terms of practicing creation.
I started off with finger painting with my art magic. So I
Yeah.
just like, started grabbing colors and my fingerprints and just like this one, the first one I did, it was just green. I was just doing this vortex of the swirls because I wanted it to come up and it was an abundance spell. And I didn't know where I was going after tattooing, so I just figured out a new career. And then I wanted I think I had royal blues, but I did keywords and power words of what I wanted, and I wrote that in the blues. But it wound up just being, I just got in and got messy, and then just like, hey, let's bring the energy this way. And I'm flowing this. So I was just getting in there and painting and having fun that way. And then then I have to let it dry. And then I started writing the power words down.
That's a
That
good,
was a psilocybin night as well. That
yeah.
one was, yeah, just went into trance, just put on some good music and did some trance art.
Mm, that's cool. I like that idea. It's like
Finger painting. Yeah.
you don't have to make anything pretty.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And then you could always do some intuitive drawing afterwards. If you even just do some splatter paint or just do grab some paint in your hand and splatter it down, let it dry, and then start drawing out images and visions and characters and stuff that you see.
Mm,
Do that with ink. You can do that with ink too. I think I did a video on that one too. I think I saw a lion or a woman that came out and out of it
that's a
with
cool idea.
wings. Yeah, you can just see what you come, kind of like automatic drawing. We just stop and then just see what visions, what characters come out and bring it out. Just doodle. Doesn't have to be anything.
Or how do you feel that your experience as a woman has played into um, your practice? Do you think?
Mm. Hmm. I think when I discovered more the goddess energy on Vancouver Island and the energy there when I was there from 1998 to 2005, and I was I've always been a tomboy. And then I joined the military because I'm fifth generation military. So I thought it was what I should do to honor my grandpa and my previous ancestors. And I was like, so I wasn't butchy, but I was very tomboyish. So to learn femininity and the goddess energy was very new for me.
Mhm.
It was interesting. And then I gave into it. And and then people were angry about feminists around there, but the feminists were too much sometimes. They were too intense. So then the goddess energy around the island sometimes was interfered with. Oh, you're into the goddess, then you must be a feminist.
Mhm.
So it's almost like a bad. So again, I went quiet with my practice. Kind of went into myself again, but now I celebrate the crone. I celebrate my age. Celebrate my womanness. Before I've always been in a position of jobs, even tattooing. I was always male dominated. I worked as a laborer, worked in the military. It was always male dominated. So I always had to work 2 to 3 times harder to prove myself.
Mhm.
Or yeah, or you have to keep quiet. So I became more the joker and then hid my feminine energy a lot. So again, the island and the shamans that I met there really helped open that up for me. And then it just helped play into my rest of my life too. But I don't think of it as that much anymore. Then I did, I guess, my 20s. I really needed to blossom. and I wore the goddess pendant, and I just had it on an amethyst necklace, and I always found that was like my worry stone. Just get her to bring me back when I was stressed out or alone.
Hmm.
It's good to be around. And she gave me my child too. I prayed to the goddess and did this tattoo, and she gave me my little girl.
Hmm.
So I owe her everything.
I resonate with the part of your story where you say that you felt like a tomboy, because I don't know if I ever felt like a tomboy necessarily, but I definitely did not like having a feminine body. Like I dressed
Yes,
boxy when I was a lot
me
younger, like
too.
clothing, and I was very like anything feminine, even carrying a purse. I was like, I don't want to call it a purse, it's my
Me
bag.
too. I had my backpack.
Yeah.
Yeah. I even now I still have my purse this way.
Yeah.
And it's a mail bag. It's
Yeah.
actually it's like an old mail bag from the United States. I
Yeah.
don't yeah, I was a skateboarder. I had my baggy clothes, my skate shoes, my boy clothes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's taken me up until the last 4 years did I start realizing how disconnected I have been from the feminine female parts of my body. And it wasn't that I wasn't feminine or female, but it was like my relationship to, my breasts or my butt or whatever all wasn't, I didn't even it's like I didn't even realize I had a womb, like
Yeah.
I was so just, I don't know, like I didn't have a relationship with my body that incorporated the feminine parts of my body, like the
I was the same. Yeah.
so
Oh,
it's
I feel you there. It wasn't until I had my child that became a mom, and I was like, wow, this is a different woman. It's like the middle era mother maiden cone.
do you have any practices that have been sort of a staple of your practice or your craft over the years?
I say more as a healer. I'm a cord puller. And then I wanted to find out why and how and who else has this gift and what is it. I've only met one other cord puller that can describe them the same way I do and pulls them the same way I do. And so I started taking lots and lots of classes, and I think more of my practice is I became a healer and I became on a quest to find out what my gift was. Never did find my answer. But I studied lots of things. So I became a chakra therapist, and I became a crystal therapist. I learned how to like, cleanse the auras to right up to Reiki master. And I was studying with Simply Sacred say Simply Sacred, I think they were my master healer there. And I became a master healer with her as well. So my path of my practice became now I incorporate these correspondences, and every time sometimes I don't always need to smudge. I can just hold in Reiki now.
Mm.
This is nice. So using the crystals in my practice, I use more herbs in my practice now than I ever have.
Hmm.
So it goes on everything from my candles to soaps to everything in my spell bags, everything.
Mm.
So I think the healer side of me has really changed my practice, but I've always been a healer. My mom's been an energy worker as well, but she just needs to guide, and then she can tell, and she'll hold her hand in place and you can feel the warmth.
Hmm.
I need to touch. So once I can scan and then I can touch the area. So different. I've always had a really neat mother that helped me explore many things and didn't discourage me. And she knew I saw ghosts and spirits, and so did she. And so again, I was raised by a scientist, so I was able to explore.
A very open-minded scientist, clearly.
Yeah, yeah, she still is. Like she knows I collect bones. She doesn't know what I'm doing them for. She still every time she has a big turkey at Thanksgiving, she keeps all the vertebrae for me.
Wow.
Well, I'm making a spine mirror. So I've been keeping all the vertebrae to go all around. So it's been years of collecting these big turkeys from our family dinners.
Wow.
But she doesn't know. Sometimes she's just like, I don't know what you're doing, but it makes you happy. And she even cleans them for me and boils them down. I'm like, I just put them in peroxide and they're done.
So you would consider yourself a healer is the through line between like from the
Yes,
beginning of
I
your
think you're
practice.
right. I think out of everything, it's always been there. Even when I was tattooing, I'd put energy into people. I'd have to block up energy. I didn't know that then I was doing Reiki or giving them a little love and healing.
Mm.
I just put in the energy through my arm, through my machine, go into the ink. I'm like, just have a better day. Because you'd feel them. You'd feel what was going on. Or there, a lot of these tattoos I did were memorial tattoos.
Oh,
So there was times where I'm crying too. We had to stop and hold and hug and do you need a breath? And
wow.
there's, yeah. So I think it's always been there, even when I was tattooing, always giving a little love or energy.
Mhm.
So that's been one thing that's been consistent for sure.
Mhm. Is there anything that you go to help you get through low times? Like any specific thing that helps you get through low times or even like stay balanced? Because I suppose you could go through low times, but also high times. Sometimes the crash coming down off of it can be intense too.
Well, I have ADHD and bipolar type 1. So I don't get the depressive. I don't get energy or aggression or angry or weirdness. I get ADHD and bipolar type 1 are 98% the same. They have the same symptoms. So I think I have both. I've
Mhm.
been diagnosed with both, but and both doctors said I don't have the other.
Oh.
So I get my energy goes up so much that I use it and I have to channel it. And the only way I can do that to help bring me down is I have to use meditation.
Mm.
Meditation is probably the key of everything from my anxiety to my ADHD to helping me out to my spells. When I go manic to when I go low, I have to stop because I get it up in my head and I'll rethink and go over and go over.
Mhm.
So meditation has been something that's helped me out in many different ways. I got a dog here, sorry.
Distracted. Looking over your life so far, do you feel content with the choices that you've made in terms of your practice?
Oh, 100%. All of them. I
Yeah.
think I've gotten a lot what I wish for sometimes. So even having the shamans in my life, even having the friend who was a shaman who didn't teach me shaman ways at the time, but he was introducing me to indigenous ways and sweats and ceremony. So the choices, yes, definitely. I think everything has happened in time for a reason, and there's times where I've gone quiet in my practice. Sometimes due to traveling, I couldn't bring all of my stuff with me or bring anything, or I just wasn't interested for a while. And then I was with someone for 3 years who said they weren't, but their parents were Mormon. So even my books that were on my shelf, I had to turn backwards so
Mm.
they couldn't be read when his parents would come over. And
Oh.
one time his dad's like, he was looking after our house when we were away, and he's like, you know what I found out about you and your books? I'm like, oh no. I was like, he goes, you're a researcher. There's not one story here. You're a researcher. And I'm like, and I had all the books. They weren't turned. I turned it back around so I could read them, and I forgot. So I thought he was gonna and like he read all the titles. I did, and he was fine with it. But I didn't have an altar out. I didn't have anything out. I practiced all in meditation. I practiced in my head. That's the only place I had a sacred space I go to. And it took me a long time to learn meditation because I'm an Aries and my brain doesn't shut up. I'm a little baby head. So it took a long time. So I learned to have a sacred space I'd go to in a garden that I've made. So
Mm.
that was where I had my altar in my place and I do my mediumship and I invite people in. I can talk to my ancestors or people that needed my help.
Mm.
So I did practice. That was just, I made an altar in a space in my mind for a few years during that stint. And now I'm just like, I'm done hiding anything for a man, for their family. If they don't like me, they don't like me.
Mhm.
Part of the reason why the paternal figure of my daughter is not with me because they saw the book when I was pregnant reading Raising Witches.
Oh.
Yeah,
Did.
mom saw that and wanted him to leave me immediately.
Mm.
She was very Catholic. I'm like, I'm pagan.
Yeah.
Not going to change. So I got tired of being and hiding my ways for a man. So now
Mm.
I'm single. My whole house is one big cauldron. I got so much stuff on the wall, like you would not mistake it that I'm pagan or a witch. When it comes into my house now, it's like it's out there, and I'm fine. And my mom too. I was wondering what my mom was going to say most of all, and I think my mom's an inner witch. I think because I'm slowly coming out to her, and I just drop hints, and she's like, "Oh, that's really cool."
Uh-huh.
I told her I joined the Edmonton Witchcraft Guild so I can go foraging, and she's like, "Oh, can I come too?" And I'm like, "Well, you got to pay the membership. You want to learn?" And she's like, "Oh, okay. Well, let me know if there's any other ones." So I think she's coming around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. My own mother has always been, she was a teacher, and she's, I also did not grow up with any kind of religion. And so sometimes, over the years I dropped something that was totally out of left field for her, like, oh yeah, I used to hear our dog, the dog I grew up with, Tyler, after he passed away, in the house. And she'd be like, what? I've dropped little hints or little stories here and there that
Me
made her
too.
like cock her eyes at me, like, what are you
Yeah, me
like?
too.
And her last dog that just passed away in December, she told me she heard him. And I was like, mm-hmm.
Haha. And then you can tell her that Claire audience is one of the rare ones to have.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's
I
cool.
hear you about that. Yeah. It's
Well, my
fun.
mom sent me a picture last year because my daughter's got high social anxiety, really, really bad. And she sent me a picture of a little spell jar. Make her this and tell her to put it in her bag. I'm like,
Oh,
so I just replied back, we already put one together, and we'll keep this spell in our back pocket. Thank you. And I was like, holy shit, that's cool. It was a spell jar. It was like in a little teeny tiny little vial. And she's like, it's just make a small one for her bag for school.
yeah.
Wow.
Cool.
Well,
Your
I
mom
think she's
respects you.
dropping hints too. Yeah.
Mhm. She's like, all right, I'll try this thing out that my daughter does that I don't know anything about.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she was upset that I didn't baptize my daughter. She even got her a baptism dress and everything. And I'm like, I can't just pick a religion and choose one of their rituals.
Mhm.
I said it's not gonna. It's like swearing on the Bible in court or something. That means I get to lie.
Mhm.
I don't believe in it. It's not my religion, so I don't want to disrespect.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so yeah, this is a turnaround for me. This is different to see her, and I think she too is dropping little hints. So I might invite her out to, I don't know, get her out at Witchstock. That'd be cool. 3-day retreat of all witches everywhere. Bring my mom. I should.
Yeah. Do you wear your pointy hat, your witch hat
I
around?
do all year, all day long. There's so many hats out there. I've never seen so many pointy hats, and so many of them were decorated. They
Mhm.
had flowers and stuff, and this one lady just bought, it looked like an embroidery piece for like a top of a dress. And she just like, oh, I just ordered it offline, and she pinned it on the hat and it looked like it was embroidered on. It was so gorgeous.
Hmm.
Hats everywhere. So when I go this year, I want to have a different hat for every day.
Do you have any specific experiences that you'd be willing to talk about that have cemented your faith in the craft?
I would immediately come back to this one. My it was my first time. I went down on my knees and cried and prayed to the goddess, and I just wanted a child so bad, and I felt at that time I was needed, and everything I gave for offerings, everything I did, everything I put together was the first time something 100% came true, and I knew that I didn't ask for the Father to stay with me. I was an accident, but he was not a good person, so it was meant to be.
Mhm.
So again, everything happens for a reason. But that one solidified, wow, 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 wow. That was a huge spell and it was a big thing. I got pregnant. So after that, I started again just practicing what sounded and felt right to me. And I put together all my own spells and they all started turning out all the time. Because I used to lots of stuff would come true around when I do things. But when I go through the books, I didn't, nothing. Like I'd spend 7 days on a spell, doing a candle spell, moving them all 1 inch every day, moving them towards the attraction candle, and nothing would happen. I was like, I spent so much energy and time, but again, I didn't know the why. But when I started figuring out stuff on my own, it just, maybe it was from the books too, but I just went back to nature and threw out the books out the door.
Mhm.
It was just easier. But yeah, I find the kind of coming back to that one, it was the first one, first spell for me that really, really, really worked. And I was like, that was all my own. That was all my collection of stuff I got from the forest and the ocean and the rocks. And it was, I think I had shells and everything in there, and offering on the beach.
Mm.
It's been a long time. The ocean helped me out on that one too.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was cool. The island is such a beautiful place.
Yeah.
A lot more, I did a lot more ritual then. Oh, just like fly by the seat of my pants. It's not
Yeah.
as much. I don't even open a server. It's just energy. Yay, let's go.
Did you have any role models in, well, I suppose, well, let me let you answer this question. Did you have any role models that for yourself along the way that you really looked up to?
I was actually no. I was around people. Not growing up, no, not really in my practice. I was just around influences. It wasn't until actually officially today I have an elder. Actually, so actually, I gave an offering today to my elder, and I asked if she would be my elder, and I have Claudette Charnier. So today I have now a mentor as officially, because I always say, "Well, I have an elder." She's like, "I got a witch," and we always joke around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool. She's an elder now, and I've known her for so many years. So, and then today I got to properly ask and gave my offerings, and actually I gave her everything that I had forged myself or I was gifted.
So what does that mean exactly? That you
I
like,
now have a mentor in Indigenous studies.
okay.
I get to learn more, some more ceremony, ritual. Last time it was Vancouver Island, and I was in my 20s. So, and then I have 20s till early 30s. So, and now I'm 50. So it's been almost 18, 20 years now. So I feel because we've become such great friends, and I want to respect and honor her. And we've talked so many times how my pagan Celtic path is so similar to the Indigenous path, the Cree path in my area. And she took Indigenous studies in university, and she said the Celtic people, when they first came over, were not like the colonists. They were welcome, they honored the land, they respected the land, they had a lot of their ways were the same. So she's willing to teach me. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the new journey and with the Witchcraft Guild. So,
Mm.
but in this one, I'm excited to what she has in store for me.
That's good.
So I'd say now I have a mentor. And
Mm.
before I never really had someone. I was always in small towns, very, 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 very small towns, or I was traveling a lot. I
Mm.
was a little gypsy when I was younger. I got dive bombed.
By a bug.
Yeah. Going into the landing. Yeah, so I've been very, 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 very isolated and very self-taught. So I haven't been around, and the towns that I was in was so small that I didn't know any other pagans or witches most of the time.
Mhm.
So the island definitely was a gift, but
Yeah.
now it's time to learn more. I'm stagnant, I feel right now.
Uh-huh. I hear you. Yeah.
Because our channels push us. Our channels, we get inspired and we put out videos, but we don't put out our personal practices because you can't. You know, it's an individual, and some of the rituals or things we do, like I can show some beginning of it, and then I'll film like I'm just going to excuse myself now because I'm going to be sitting here for the next hour, and I'm not going to videotape me just in meditation or in my sacred space.
Right.
And I do a lot of work there. And how do you describe that? You can't really, is you're just sitting on camera for an hour.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no way to transmit that because it is very personal and very
Yeah. Just plug in a little.
Yeah.
neuro interface or something.
Try and show what it is that's going on in your head to everybody.
Someday. Imagine being able to see someone's dreams.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, I'd freak a lot of people out for sure.
What do you feel like is your greatest adventure?
My daughter,
Mm.
watching her world grow and wanting to learn the craft and watching her gifts come to into fruition. I was told by a medium before I had her that by 8 years old, she would be more gifted and powerful than me. And so I have just absolutely nourished her from day one. And it's been a really cool journey to watch her path because I never had anybody to nourish my pagan journey.
Mm.
So it's really, really, really cool to be able to, she's like, when she was 16, she's like, Mom, I'm ready to learn now. I think I didn't want her to be like the Christians, like they make them go to church. And then when you're 16, then you decide if you want to continue. I'd rather her decide around that age which path. I did ask her, I don't care for certain paths, but I still wanted her, and I said I don't care for Christianity. But I educated myself. I read the Bible. I read about it. So when someone talked to me, I was educated.
Mm.
And I said, "Yeah, we live in a Christian society, so we have to respect their ways, but and learn about their ways as well, so we understand and not ridicule and not be how some of them are. Some of them are absolutely freaking amazing. So I wanted her to follow her own path where I was going with that. And when she asked me, and I said, "Well, what do we do every day? Like we stir intention in our tea. We have our manifestations up in the for the day in our bathroom." Like, and I said, I walked her into the kitchen and I said, "Look here, Elder Chorney, she gave us a little salt shaker and it's got rose quartz in it. I sprinkle that, I shake the energy in my food all the time." I said, "I have my two spoons here. I held them up. One is burnt, one is drawn on." I said, "This when you're having a high anxiety day, I use this. This is for blessing and cooking." And I said, "It's everywhere." And I just started walking her around the house and this is what we do all the time. And she's like, "Oh," and I said, "You're a magical world all the time."
Mm.
But I think so. And I said, "We even spells." He said, "You hear me?" And I wanted to do a gratitude spell. I'm like, if you're picking a color for your candle, what would it be for you? And I want to teach her, what does that mean for you? Because orange could mean something different for you. It could mean attraction for me. It could mean something negative for someone else. And she's like, "Purple." And I'm like, "Huh, for gratitude. All right. It's what you're feeling." So I really I always ask her questions throughout the day as I'm making stuff or putting spells together, crafting, or I'm like, "What would you use for this? What would you use for that?" I'm like, "Why?" "Well,
Mm.
I don't know. I just feel that this is the right color because it means this and this and this and this, or I feel this herb." "Okay, go look up the herb, see if you're right, or see if and it's really cool.
Mm.
So I think that's been one of my greatest achievements is actually watching her world change and get to help her out
Mm.
most of all.
That's wonderful. I love hearing that.
Thank you.
Your um uh role and adventure of being a mother.
Oh, it's different. I thought I was destined to have a boy because I was a tomboy.
Mm.
But boy, when I had a girl, we're talking frou-frou dresses, rockabilly bangs, pigtails. Oh, I had dressed her in rockabilly clothes, dresses all the time. Oh my gosh. But when I noticed she started seeing ghosts and spirits and stuff like that too, I had to be careful because she was so young. Sometimes she didn't know the difference of what she saw too. And she didn't know the difference of her dreams and reality for a long time.
Oh.
Well, up until probably 4 years old and usually a little earlier.
Mm.
But she was speaking before she was walking. She knew sign language and some words. I taught her. She was brilliant. She's doing sign language at 5 months old. And at 11 months old, before she was a year, she told me her first dream. She said she was by the water. She fell in the water, but an orca whale came to save me. And we swam around together. And then we went to grandma's house for tea.
Hmm.
I'll never forget that. So I'm like, your orca whale is your totem.
Mm.
Holy shit, you got a librarian keeper. You got the one of the librarians of the world as your wisdom teacher. Like, it's so cool.
That's cool. I love that.
He's a neat kid for sure.
What do you feel are the most important things in life?
Oh, so I guess it depends on what age I've been. Now I think everything is just, I think is freedom. I think it's freedom to be able to do what you want in your craft and not feel that you have to or you have to need something. Um, I think the most important thing is for me was not to hide. I hid. I had to hide a few times in my life. So I think the word freedom is the first thing that comes up with me. I had to hide my practice, but it, and not knowing it helped me visualize, and I grew in different ways.
Mhm.
But it sat in me at different points in my life. I really had to keep it hidden.
Mhm.
And now I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. Maybe that's part of the Crone era. We don't care anymore. I think I'll add that to that question. We just don't, it just doesn't matter anymore. It's just as long as you're free and as long as you're happy and you
Mhm.
have love in your heart. I think that's all that's important.
Mhm.
Definitely freedom to do what you need.
Mhm.
No restrictions. I found the books I first read, there were so many restrictions and so much pressures. And then when I was reading about Wiccan and trying to learn, I felt very pressured.
Mhm.
I didn't like that. I just wanted to run away. But I wanted to stay with the practice. But yeah, freedom would be the clinical word for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I've been subdued sometimes and having to hide.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Is there anything that you wish you could tell your younger self or your daughter, maybe?
Due to some of the mistakes I've made in relationships, you'd want to go back and say if I didn't meet that person, that I wouldn't have gone through what I did, and I wouldn't have had to hide my craft or hide my ways. But if I didn't go through what I did, I wouldn't have been joined the military. I wouldn't have got posted out if I didn't meet this certain person. I would have got posted Ontario. My last posting was Vancouver Island. Then I left him there, and then my whole world opened up in a different way. So sometimes we got to go through some tough times and make stupid choices to get where we need to go. And I also got my tattoo apprenticeship in Ontario. I probably would have never gotten that.
Mhm.
So sometimes I think I wouldn't go back and tell myself to not do anything because even some of the most darkest, difficult, abusive, brutal times that I've been through younger, I think I still needed to go through it to get where I am, to be the person that I am, have the tolerance and love in my heart, because I won't let anybody take me there anymore.
Mhm.
It's been 1998 is when I left him, and I swore I would never let anybody get me that angry again, take me to that dark place again. I was angry all the time. He said one word, I'd snap, and I'm not that person. So again, I go back and tell myself, don't do it. Don't do certain things. No, I think I still need to go through it because
Mhm.
I am where I am now and I am who I am now. My daughter, just tell her anything. I would say the same. You got to get out and travel, got to go do certain things. I did my traveling. I went around the world. I farted around for a bit. I always got pulled back to Canada, always got pulled back to Edmonton, Alberta. I think for me, for her, is just be free. I don't have anything like don't do this or don't do that or make sure you don't. You have to experience to get to develop your character and personality,
Mhm.
develop your ways.
Mhm.
So I'll take the good and the bad and everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there anything that you feel that you were very wrong about? Like, what were you most wrong about?
Hmm. That's a toughie. I've been wrong about a lot of things. That's how we
In-
learn.
in-
Um, I think at the time when I did my first magical tattoo, my second magical tattoo, sorry, with this one that really worked out with the goddess, at the time I was really disheartened that it worked, that I lost my man and he wasn't meant to be in the equation. And I thought I did something really, really wrong. I thought I disrespected or I did the spell wrong and certain things. But then I discovered who he was later on. He hid a lot from me. Alcoholism was one of them. And it wasn't until I moved in with him, he couldn't hide it anymore. So sometimes, again, we got to go through certain things to get where we need to go. I thought I did something wrong. I thought I did the spell wrong. I thought it backfired on me. And it was the goddess protecting me. She gave me what I asked for.
Mhm.
She also protected me from him. And it's just been her and I. for 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a couple boyfriends since then, but it's just been her and I, and we are so magical. And it's so much fun together, and it was meant to be. So she was raised by a single mom for a reason too. Not open. So again, not a to go back and think about the most negative or something I'd change. Again, I think I just need to go through them. Because then I learned. Same as mistakes in my painting. Sometimes you make a mistake and then it turns out so cool, and at the end, you got to figure out how you did it again so you can learn that technique.
Right. Right. Well, thank you, Cara. This was lovely getting to know you a little bit better and getting a glimpse into your life and how you've become a witch and where you are and where you hope to go.
The shaman path and whatever happens along the way, I'll probably change my ways a few more times. Yeah, with a nature witch will always stay in me, though. Well, thank you so very much for having me. I absolutely appreciate you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank everybody else who's watching, and go check Cara out at her pagan crafting channel. She does a lot of art, witchery, and there's definitely, like I said, that thread of shamanism in there and green witch, and she's a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I'm an eclectic. Yeah, for sure.
I'll see you guys later.